Hello, today I'll be talking about Star Wars realism versus the realism in Star Trek. I believe that Star Trek is much more realistic than Star Wars for two reasons. The character choices and the physics of these two series compared to each other. Star Trek will always be more realistic than Star Wars in terms of physics and in terms of the character. So let's go. In Star Wars, you have two characters, at least I find that there are two characters which are very misleading in terms of what they are. For example, Han Solo, which is one of the characters, he is a human. Well, he isn't a human, but he looks like a human. He speaks like a human. He doesn't have any alien markings or alien powers like most of the aliens do, like Greedo or Boba Fett. They all have alien characteristics in either a mental, so they can do things with their minds, or body, so like shoot lasers out of their eyes, or alien markings like Greedo, which is, well, a green alien. And I believe that Han Solo, not having any of these markings, is a humanoid. I mean, he looks like a human, he talks like a human, and he has, again, no alien characteristics. So why is he not a human? What is and if he were a human, what is a human doing there? I mean, he's in a far, far away galaxy, and we weren't developed at that point to be able to communicate English. I mean, they're talking English, and where do they get the English? That's also another point, the English. I mean, makes some sense. Everyone's talking English over there except Java, or a few of them, but everyone else is talking English, so that's rather misleading. Another character which does represent these ideas is Leia. She is born of a Jedi and a woman. She's born of a Jedi, and she doesn't have any Jedi powers, which one should have if born from a Jedi like Luke. Luke has his father's powers, but Leia doesn't have anything. She's just smart, and she also doesn't have any. Well, she doesn't have any alien characteristics, again, just like Han Solo. And that's my point for the characters. And the English, well, again, the English is rather misleading. That's another point. In Star Trek, on the other hand, you have your characters, and your characters are always going to be either human or alien. You're always going to be able to tell in that episode that the aliens are maybe pretending to be humans, but then you'll always find out that they're aliens, unlike in Star Wars, and vice versa, if the humans do decide to become aliens by doing some things with their minds. However, that's usually not the case. For example, let's take Star Trek, the original series, Episode 1, the first one, before William Shatner was Captain Kirk in the original series. They go to a deserted planet, and they get beams, so they get a message from a human colony, and well, they go down to investigate because this is a deserted planet technically. They find a human colony, but it turns out it's not a human colony. It's just a bunch of aliens pretending to be humans, which is a very popular theme in Star Trek. And in terms of English, well, English has been defined as a universal language at this point because, well, you have Star Trek, Starship Enterprise, they're traveling around, which means humans have already been able to go to most of our galaxy. And that's actually the point of Star Trek, the original series at least, that they're supposed to go around the galaxy and just, check out everything to see how everything's doing. So humans have already colonized the galaxy mostly. So that is why they're speaking English, unlike in Star Wars where it's just a language. I know, of course, George Lucas had to make it English because they were talking English, but because America is an English-speaking country, so a movie in English is logical. However, that just misleads the viewer and is unrealistic. Now let's talk about the physics of the matter, which is very important because Star Trek has different physics from Star Wars. In Star Wars, you got the Jedi, which can move objects with their mind, which is already quite highly unrealistic for someone to be able to move objects with their mind, or do things with their mind, advanced things, and it turns out they can't colonize the whole universe. That doesn't make sense. They have hyperdrive, which you're supposed to travel super fast, just like warp drive, but a little bit faster, much faster. Why haven't they colonized the universe? I mean, they're obviously powerful enough. They can build a Death Star. Why shouldn't they be able to colonize the universe? That, again, doesn't make sense. But returning to the physics, in Star Wars you have hyperdrive, and on the other hand in Star Trek you have warp drive. Hyperdrive, essentially what you're doing, you pass through that ring. If you watch the movies, you'll see that the ship passes through this ring, the hyperdrive ring, a portal actually, and they go into another dimension. That's very unrealistic. They're going into another dimension, which you can travel much faster in that dimension than in our normal universe. However, in Star Trek, you have warp drive. Warp drive is just essentially, if my point, I'm here, and my point is here, what they do is warp drive just folds everything up, and you can just go through. And so your speed is increased by magnitudes, tenfold, tenfold of the speed of light. That's what it does. So that's why I believe Star Trek is more realistic than Star Wars. Thank you.